and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups, technology and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Shrikant coming to you live from India Startup Capital, Bengaluru, and we kick off the show with an important story that will affect all payment firms, be it MNCs or the domestic ones, because RBI's deadline for data localization is running out. The last date for that is October 15th, which is next Monday. So ahead of that, today the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley held an important meeting with key stakeholders. He met the RBI Deputy Governor BP Kanungo as well as DA Secretary Subhash Chandra Garg to really understand the way forward with respect to data localization. Remember, there has been a clear division in the way RBI's data localization move has been perceived. While domestic firms such as Paytm and PhonePe have backed the idea, you've seen resistance come in from some of the MNCs. So while Google has said it's crucial that we have cross-border flow of data, some such as MasterCard, Paytm, Visa and the others have sought an extension of deadline because they are not prepared. Now, from what we understand from our sources, a lot of firms, especially the global ones, are not prepared to comply with the October 15 deadline. So in all likelihood, there could be an extension in the works. But remember, unless the RBI comes out and says it, we don't know for sure till when the extension is likely to last. But at least for now, it looks like the October 15 deadline seems a little challenging. For more perspective on what this will mean, we have two special guests joining us on Startup Central. We have Smita Prasad from NLU in Delhi, as well as Vinay Kesri, a technology lawyer based right here in Bengaluru. Smita, I'm going to take it to you first. You know, barely 1 week away for that data localization deadline to come into effect. But from what we understand, it doesn't look like MNCs are really prepared to walk the talk as far as that is concerned in terms of processes, in terms of compliance. What is your own sense of how this is going to pan out? Will we, is a deadline extension pretty much inevitable at this point?
Hi, Chandra. I think we have to look at the data localization mandate by the RBI in the context of the data localization discussions that are happening in other industries and, pan-industry-wide as well. So if you look at the data protection bill that was recently released by MeitY and also the e-commerce policy that was leaked about a couple of months ago, it's interesting to note that the RBI's data localization mandate, although it came out earlier, provides for a much shorter timeline than these other policies do. Those policies provide a 2-year timeline for, complete compliance with data localization mandates. So we'll have to see if, the industries are saying that they're not able to do it within this timeline and it's a week away. We'll really have to see how this turns out in terms of what the RBI is going to do next.
Vinay, what's your own take on how this is going to pan out? Will we see an extension happening?
Yes, I think at this point it seems pretty much inevitable that there will be an extension because, 1 week is not enough time for anybody to comply with something like this because from all accounts it will require, a fairly serious re-architecting of systems and an increase in capacity in India for some of these companies at least. So those are not the kinds of things that you can do in a week. So and at the same time, it's not in the interest of the government either to have all of these companies, default en masse with respect to this requirement. So I think that it's pretty much inevitable that there will be an extension. But at the same time, I think it's interesting to note that, it has really come down to the wire this time because, I think it indicates in some ways the resolve of the government to actually, push through some kind of data localization regime, in various areas, which is something that I don't think anybody really thought of about 6 months ago. Nobody really thought that would happen. Data localization, globally speaking, is not, something that is commonly undertaken, especially not at this scale. So many companies were taken by surprise. And, India, in some cases, we do have a slightly bad record when it comes to following through on big tech policy ideas. We came out, for example, with an encryption policy a few years ago, which was immediately withdrawn and so on. So it's interesting to see that this, pretty reasonably radical measure, which has seen a lot of industry resistance, it still looks like the government is not going to actually change their stand. And even if they do postpone the compliance date, it doesn't look at this point like they're actually going to backtrack.
Right. In fact, that was my next question, Smita. I mean, perhaps what global firms would hope for is for the RBI to review this decision on, the move to localized data. Maybe they will amend it to just storing a mirror image in India. But based on the signals that you've seen, I mean, RBI set out this deadline in April. That's when they had fixed a 6 month deadline. As Vinay said, it's really gone down to the wire. The finance minister having a meeting today with key stakeholders to decide on the way forward. Global payment firms knocked on the government's door a few days back seeking an extension. Do you think the government or the RBI, for that matter, is in a mood to review the move altogether? Or will they just perhaps give another extension? And how much time is going to be enough for these companies? Because in 6 months, nothing seems to have been done. They don't seem to be prepared. So realistically, how much time would they need?
I agree with Vinay. It doesn't seem like the government is going to back down on this issue at this moment, at least. It looks like at the most they will say that this is a sector-specific thing where this financial or fintech sector will be required to fully localize data, whereas some others may be able to do only a mirror copy of data, or maybe even within the sector, at the most they will say some kind of data has to be fully maintained only in India, and some has to be maintained at least in the form of a mirror copy. I'm honestly not sure about how much time it will actually take the global industries to comply with this. I think one of the things, they've had 6 months, yes, but I think also this 6 months has been, spotted by many discussions about whether or not this policy will go through, asking for extensions, asking for directions about how to do this, how to comply with this. So that's probably also eaten into the time that they would have otherwise taken to actually move their infrastructure and comply. So that's something, if there is an extension, depending upon whether they get further directions from the government, the timelines will also be affected by these considerations, I think.
Right. Which brings me to my next question. I mean, some MNC firms have made it out to be like data localization is not going to be technically feasible, that, the way they have to architect this is not going to be possible. As someone who tracks this space closely, does that explanation wash with you? Are they just trying to buy time? Is it really technically an uphill task to localize all of payment data in India? What are the technicalities involved here?
Then that's a great question, Chandra. So I think, I'll confine myself for now to the financial industry because, let's not get into the broader data localization question since we're talking about the RBI move here. Now, I'm of course not a technical expert, but my understanding is that it is not technically impossible or infeasible to actually carry out this mandate and to localize all payments data in India. But at the same time, it perhaps in some ways more than the technical difficulties, it actually imposes a lot of business difficulties and also to some extent legal difficulties when it comes to actually implementing this kind of mandate. If I can explain, the fact is that for some industries especially and some types of companies, the ownership of data and the ability to extract value from that data is an important part of their business. And when it comes to structuring your business, your global business, you try to structure it in the way that is most efficient legally and from a tax perspective and so on. So when it comes to that, it makes sense often to house data and to have data ownership located in one jurisdiction or in just one or two jurisdictions. And that is ultimately what is most efficient for your business. And in many cases is also the most profitable way to do business. Now, this kind of a data localization mandate can really interfere with that kind of business structuring. So, to my mind at least, the more than the technical difficulty, it is the business, legal, financial, and tax difficulty that could result from these kinds of mandates being executed, not just in India, but perhaps in other countries as well, if there is some kind of a domino effect. That is perhaps the more serious issue that many companies are concerned about.
Right, right. Smita, I mean, other industries, we don't know what the move could be, because even the Sri Krishna committee has batted for, data localization to a large extent, but the RBI deadline is something that's imminent. Just want to understand what could, the potential upside be, as a consumer in India or for the Indian government per se, when data gets localized. I mean, when I highlighted all the difficulties that these companies could potentially have from a legal perspective, business perspective, but what could the upside be for consumers or for that matter for the government?
So if you look at the reasons, that are often cited for asking for data localization, the biggest win the government side will be that they get to monitor the data better, and it helps in terms of law enforcement in India, right? And specifically for the RBI, this is important because financial information is sensitive, and financial transactions are regulated more so than other transactions in the country that that would involve any personal data. So I think that's the big reason. So there are different versions of this, whether it's for law enforcement in terms of criminal law enforcement, whether it's in terms of enforcement of the financial regulations that the RBI has. But that is what it comes down to, that generally speaking, the government has more control over the way the data is used and more control over monitoring this data to see if something is going wrong. In terms of the consumer itself, the one thing that could be argued is that if the Indian government has good regulation, if we have good data protection, then they are assured of good data protection when such laws are applicable to data that is stored in India. But the flip side to that is something that a lot of people who have been speaking in the consumer interest have been saying, is that that doesn't require data localization. That just requires good, efficient trans-border data flow rules and regulations to make sure that if your data is stored abroad, then the same level of law data protection is applicable to this data as well. It doesn't require data to be stored in India per se. And the other thing is, of course, that if you're going to have so this is, I think, a little different for the financial industry, for industry that is anyway regulated by the RBI. But basically, the problem is that it's going to reduce your number of options in terms of service providers that you have, because the data localization mandate is a little more onerous than otherwise implemented on the service providers that are giving you whatever services there is. But of course, specifically in terms of the RBI, that might not be as big of a concern as it is outside of this industry.
Right, right. On that note, Smita and Vinay, thank you so much for joining us on this leg of, Startup Central to break that all down. But, it's important to mention here that we hear a lot of firms are not prepared to meet that deadline. And if the RBI sticks to its stand, then we could see transactions potentially taking a hit once that October 15 deadline is there, because it could affect the way you and I use our debit cards and credit cards. And that's a situation that the government will not want. So in all possibility, there could be an extension coming in from the RBI, but we'll know about that in the next few days. On that note, we'll have to take a break at this point on Startup Central, but stay tuned for a very special conversation all the way from Hyderabad, where Ikea opened recently. Now, what impact will the recent import duty hikes have on the prices of goods at Ikea. We bring you more details and a ground report on the other side of Startup Central. Now, it's been 2 months since Ikea opened in India, making a big splash in Hyderabad. Since then, it's been in news for both good and bad reasons. But my colleague Rahul Dama caught up with the Deputy Country Manager for Ikea, Patrick Anthony, to really get a sense of what people are buying at Ikea and what impact the recent hike in import duty is going to have as far as prices of goods at Ikea is concerned. Remember, Ikea is a huge competitor in the online to furniture retailers as well as e-tailers that include startups such as Urban Ladder, Pepperfry, as well as big ones such as Amazon, Flipkart and Paytm, for whom furniture and furnishing is going to be a big category after electronics and fashion. Listen into this conversation with my colleague Rahul.
Very, very happy with the start it has taken. As you said, we've had close to 1 million visitors over these first 2 months, which is of course very exciting. What I really like when I walk around the store, and you will see it also, is that people are very interactive with the furniture and the solutions that we show. Not looking at it from a distance, but really saying, is this something for me? So they're testing and trying, opening drawers, feeling it, really getting a feel for the quality we're offering and seeing the price level we have. So I think this interaction shows that there is a good market for us.
All right. Patrick, is there also a perception issue that you're sort of, facing here in India? Sort of people perceive it to be an expensive brand. Is it something that you're actively sort of investing time and resources to convince people that, there are affordable products, the pricing is also convincing?
Well, Ikea's vision from the beginning is to create a better everyday life for the many people, and the many people are those with the thin wallets. So we've tried to push an extra effort here in India to make sure that we're seen as affordable. So we are in the marketing campaigns we're doing, showcasing a lot of very affordable products, and this has really paid off. Because we can see today that almost everybody who comes to the store buys something, and it's a really nice feeling for us, because it's what really matters is that we break into people who previously maybe could not afford to spend money on their home, but now Ikea comes, shows solutions and products that are so affordable and so exciting, so they can buy. So yeah, it has paid off. But
you have had to invest some time, but give us a sense of what are people here in Hyderabad. It's the middle of the week, it's afternoon, and you're still seeing so many people sort of drop by. So what are they really shopping for? Is this smaller household items? I was seeing that the plants are a big hit among people here. What are they really shopping? Just give us 3-4 products that you're seeing increasingly move off the shelves.
So we've seen I think quite nicely is a lot of sofas are coming. We see mattresses and bedrooms being a very big area. We see cooking and eating, of course, because India loves food, yeah. What to expect. And then what to my heart really nice is the children's department. And I think we have one of the world's highest sales share of children product, because it's important also for almost everyone here has families with children inside. So we can see that the love for children is here, and everyone who passes by Ikea wants to give something for their kids. So that's really sweet.
The kids section is also, but as far as India, you've spent a lot of time to explore the market. It was tough for you to enter finally the first store, but you have aggressive plans of having several stores as you move ahead. So, Mumbai and Bangalore are next. What sort of investments would they go into? When would they start, finally be open to customers to really stop in, shop in and walk out?
So I think this year we've started in Hyderabad. It's been a great learning. We've seen that Ikea and India really works together as a combination. Next year we will put all our focus into Mumbai, where we open first both online, we will open a city center format, and we will open a big store, really accessing India as a multi-channel retailer for the first time. The year after, it's Bangalore, where we're going to look into the same kind of strategy, where we'll go online first and then fill up with both city center stores and mega stores, and the year after that, Delhi. So we're taking it year by year, one big market at a time.
Okay, now Amazon's Great Indian Festive Sale is set to kick off tomorrow, and ahead of that, We caught up with Manish Tiwari, the head of category management, one of the top bosses at Amazon India, to really find out the game plan as far as electronics and smartphones is concerned. Remember, this is perhaps the biggest clash of the year, so to speak, the festive season sale between Flipkart and Amazon, and the category that has given Flipkart an edge all these years is the electronics category, particularly the edge that they have on mobile phones, smartphones. Can Amazon really outwit Flipkart, outsell Flipkart this time? We'll have to wait and see, but listen in to Manish Tiwari.
I think the biggest thing, if I kept it short, would be the kind of selection we have. We have bestsellers. So if you take mobiles, right from the starting price point, we have the Redmi 6A, which is India's largest selling smartphone family, going up till premium phones like OnePlus and Apple. What I can assure your viewers is they would see the lowest ever pricing on the entire range of mobiles bestsellers. The same is true for large appliances. Been working really hard with the seller and brand partners, and I can promise that if you take something like laptops, across the range, which is the starting laptops, the thin and light notes, and the gaming laptops, the discounts would go up to 50,000 rupees. So in a simple sort of summary, the availability of the best-selling range on Amazon.in at the lowest prices is probably the biggest point this season.
Okay. Would you agree that, smartphones, like it always has been over the last few years, will see a lot of demand because, you have some innovative offering in that space also? Is that the demand that also you're anticipating, that smartphones will continue to sort of be the biggest driver as far as demand is concerned?
I personally expect a huge blip on smartphones. Like I said, we have bestsellers in every price band, starting from at 6,000 going up till the 100,000 price bands. And what we've done this season along with our brand and seller partners is we've made it really, really easy for customers. One of the biggest challenges customers have with smartphones is your screen cracks. So 30% of people actually in the first year have a problem of screen cracking, and it's very expensive. It's roughly 30% of the value of the phone. Any phone you buy on Amazon.in during the sale period, your screen is protected, and we will replace it free. The brand partners and the insurance partners, they will literally give you free replacement at home. But we're not stopping there. The other problem, which I'm sure all of us encounter, is damage, especially liquid damage. Damage while you're walking, you knock the phone against something and there is a problem. We are offering a total damage protection program along with the brand partners for all phones being sold on Amazon, all the best-selling phones. And if the phone price is less than 10,000, it costs you 1 rupee for 1 year.
To sort of get that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see who finally wins this mega battle between Amazon and Flipkart. But on that note, completely out of time on this edition of ET Now Startup Central. Thanks so much for watching and stay tuned to ET Now for more news and updates.